is Mr. Bob Marshall. He's the Virginia State Delegate of the 13th House District. He got some interesting thing to say here, so I'm going to not say anything and let him do that. Right.
Folks, you know, you've got to watch what politicians say and what they don't say. For example, my good friend Corey Stewart here, he said he borrowed $500 from a young woman that became his wife. Corey, did you ever pay her back? He's still paying. All right. Well, folks, when I grew up, you could actually say prayers in public school. You could read the Bible. I watched the World War II series, Victory at Sea. You know, men knew they were men, and women knew they were women, and they actually knew there was a difference. Unlike now, where we've got the Obama administration wanting to say that 17-year-old guys will take showers on the swim team with 13-year-old girls. I mean, come on. Let me give you a confession. I'm a Catholic. I do this a lot. So I voted for Dr. Carson in the primary. There are a lot of people like me out here who, after that primary, they've walked away. And one of them just walked back today, Ted Cruz, so I'm very glad that he did that. But we have the rest of them walk back, as Chairman Whitbeck said earlier. And I want to give you reasons why they should walk back. Because I know you're convinced, but you need to convince others, those 5 others that the congressman talked about. And secondly, remember that this race is not just between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It's between Clinton, Kaine, and Trump, Pence. Mr. Kaine is our senator, unfortunately. He says he's a good Catholic, that he follows the teachings of the church when he makes his public policy decisions. Well, funding abortion with tax money is not one of them. He wants to do that. He also wants to coerce consciences. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When the Hobby Lobby decision came out from the Supreme Court, he was mad about that. That decision said that a religious employer did not have to buy abortion pills for his employees. Very simple. Tim Kaine was mad about that. He co-patroned a bill, I think Murray Udall, which would compel every employer in the United States, profit, non-profit, church, doesn't matter, to buy these abortion pills.
No.
Well, yes, that's what Tim Kaine wants. He wants the Little Sisters of the Poor, who founded their home in the United States, I think in the 1860s, and served about 13,000 poor and elderly people a year, to buy birth control pills. Secret, Mr. Kaine, the nuns are celibates. They don't need this. Nobody, you want these pills? Go buy them yourself. Don't coerce us into doing this. Well, he wants to coerce conscience. And Hillary wants to support people on the Supreme Court who want to make that possible. It's very unfortunate. Now, another thing that liberals do a lot is they act where they have no authority. Tim Kaine on May 2nd and 39 other Democrats, and I see Senator Dick Black walking in here right now. Tim Kaine and 39 other Democrat senators wrote a letter to the Department of Justice and the Department of Education demanding that they go out after all the states and threaten them with withdrawal of money if the state public schools do not have these mixed locker rooms and bathrooms. Mr. Kaine acknowledged that there's no legal authority to do this because Title IX, the Civil Rights Law of 64 and 68, had nothing in there about gender identity or sexual orientation. But he wants them to do it anyway, which means and ends matter very little for liberals. Remember Obama said at one point, I had my phone and my pen. He didn't say he had the Constitution with him. He had his phone and his pen. And unfortunately, present company accepted, Congressman, too many Republicans in Congress are not willing to stand up and cause a fight. Mr. Trump will cause a fight. That's one of the reasons that I like him. He reminds me of a New York cab driver and a construction foreman wrapped up into one, running for president. But you know what? We need that right now. Do you want, ask your neighbor, do they want Hillary Clinton appointing the judges on all the federal courts? No way. You cannot have that. Some people are saying, well, I'll sit out this election and the economy will go to the devil and we'll pick up the marbles for the next election. Who says there's going to be the same kind of electorate? What will Hillary do to expand the electorate to people who are otherwise ineligible? She will manipulate and change the characteristic of the electorate between 2016 and 2020, so you may not have a chance to do this. Right now, the Obama administration wants to make gunsmiths turn them into gun manufacturers. What's that going to do? It's going to put them out of business because they won't be able to pay the heavy regulatory fees. You can do so much damage with regulation that you don't, in a sense, need the election. You don't need the House. You don't need the Senate. If Hillary's the president, she'll start writing all these regulations. And if she's appointing the judges, they'll stand up. We cannot tolerate this. This is the loss of our representative government. This is the time to act. Hillary, help me. In 1954, President Eisenhower went to Congress and he asked for support for some additional help in Vietnam because Dien Bien Phu, a military camp near the Laotian border, was under siege. He wanted to do something, but he wanted to get the support of everybody in Congress. One person said no. He put 3 conditions out there that you really couldn't meet in that short a period of time from March to what became May when the fort fell. Those 3 conditions were put out there by guess who? Lyndon Johnson, who lived to have his own career wrecked by that war. Lyndon Johnson. An opportunity was missed for whatever reason. He may have had good motives, but his judgment was deficient. We cannot miss this opportunity. You must go out and vote for Trump. You must walk door to door. You don't have to be eloquent. You don't have to be, walking in black tie and tails. Your presence at a doorstep is about 5 or 10 times more important than a television ad. I've done this for years. I've won 13 elections in Virginia. Obama won my district twice. I still win those districts. Now, how do I do it? It's not because I'm charming. I go door to door and I get people to do it, just like you. And you know what happens at that doorstep? They see all these pieces in the Washington Post calling Trump this and that and everything else in the ads, and the person says, you know what? This lady doesn't look crazy. That person may not be hearing all the words you're saying, but you're giving them an impression, I'm an average American, I love my country, I love my neighbor, this guy is good to this country. That's all you have to do. And you will convince, you will be more persuasive than any one of these $10 million ads. Or a live phone call. If you do that, if you cannot walk, do that. If you're a teenager, you don't have to worry about this. Anybody who's going to turn 18 by the election can register to vote. And remember, we still have a few weeks to register to vote. Do that now. This is going to be, coming like, under the radar. The other side will not be able to see it if we do it. So any of your teenagers in high school who are 18 by the election, they can register today. I think you can do it up until about 2 weeks from now, probably. Okay, you must do this. And again, pray about this, think about it, and then act, and this country can be made whole again. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.